true saving of lives has to do with the local responders on the ground.
A natural disaster like Hurricane Katrina, a chemical event, a terrorist event, a biologic event, or even a pandemic infection is going to be a huge challenge for us.
When I have a house fire, I don't call the director of FEMA. I call my local agency. The important thing here is, are we prepared at a local and a regional level to deal with the first hours of an incident?
America may well be hit with another terrorist attack, or even a pandemic disease, and natural disasters will happen, sooner or later. The Metropolitan Medical Response System program prepares communities to handle these public health crises by bringing together and bolstering local resources. MMRS helps save lives.
Federal resources generally will not reach a scene for at least 24 hours, and more realistically in the neighborhood of 48 to 72 hours.
And history shows it can take much longer for help to arrive.
How do you take a limited amount of resources to save the most lives that we possibly can, including you've got to extract people who are trapped in debris and rubble. You have to determine if there's a chemical involved or not, and you have to relay that information to all other responding agencies and the receiving hospitals.
Communication systems and power may be down, and roads blocked.
How do you then integrate transportation to the hospitals? How do you assist the hospitals in their surge capacity? All of which were strained here on a day-to-day basis without an emergency.
And MMRS has helped us recognize where we can improve in our care of patients. So you don't take the chaos of a disaster and move it to the emergency department, but that chaos is mitigated. And so patients are presented in organized fashion, presented with initial treatment, initial diagnosis already ongoing. Patients arrive a lot less ill than they would have otherwise.
Funded by the Department of Homeland Security, the program serves 125 cities around the country. 80% of the U.S. population lives in a community protected by MMRS.
The Metropolitan Medical Response System was one of the first programs in this country to actually begin to bring the multiple disciplines and agencies together to prepare to deal with mass casualty events, primarily brought about by acts of terrorism.
Spurred by the Tokyo sarin gas attack and the Oklahoma City bombing, the program was launched in 1996. Seattle, a city at higher risk for terrorism, was among the first to get funding.
When many of the partners came together for MMRS, they were strangers at the table. The county health officer and the fire chief may not have been familiar with one another. And there were relationships built as a result of that sort of forced meeting.
Team members meet regularly to plan for every kind of disaster.
Harborview has an all-hazards disaster plan. Really, it just takes one phone call from the field to call us and activate the plan. Almost everybody from the CEO to the medical director to the head surgeon to the chief physician, all the way down to the housekeeper, has a role in that disaster plan.
Thanks to MMRS planning, each person is ready to act. And not just in hospitals, but in every organization that could be called upon to respond. Plans are tested, problems discovered, and solutions found. The unexpected is anticipated.
If there was a release of a chemical, those first responders in the Oklahoma City bombing had no protection nor training. That explosion may have other substances in it. They would have been contaminated. MMRS gave us detection equipment. It gave us protective clothing above and beyond what we normally wear to provide life rescue efforts in the first hours of an incident.
The program continues to provide ongoing training and citywide disaster drills.
Remember, mass casualty is not the 3-car auto accident. Mass casualty stretches your system. If you don't build an exercise to simulate that, then you're not going to be able to test where your gaps are. We'll involve anywhere from 100 to 300 people in an exercise. That's a lot of coordination.
Disasters don't happen from 9 to 5. Disasters happen when people who are your disaster expert aren't available. And so the importance of a drill is you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you face it. And just by practicing over and over, you learn how to do something without thinking, and it really becomes second nature.
A lot of our ability to respond here as a team in a community is, do we know each other? Do we have trust in what each other's capable of doing? So that when we come to the real event, we're not in, have I ever seen you before?
MMRS also purchases and stockpiles pharmaceuticals. Some medicines, like those used to treat chemical attack victims, must be administered within minutes. Program funding allowed the Seattle Fire Department to partner with the Centers for Disease Control to start a ChemPack program. It is now used as a model throughout the country.
Our goal and objective here was to be able to provide those antidotes and pharmaceuticals in the field within 30 minutes of an attack or an incident occurring. We've been able to do that here. Do we have a capacity to deal with 1,000 victims right now? No, but we need to build that capacity.
The stronger the local response, the more lives you're going to save. You get the bang for your buck by investing at the local level.
MMRS is Homeland Security's only locally based medical incident management program. It provides up to $250,000 in grant money to each of 125 communities. Compared to other national preparedness programs, it's a small amount of money, but the results are big.
The key issue is, what are you getting out of the MMRS program at the local level? You're getting a lot.
Without MMRS, plans will become outdated. Expired pharmaceuticals won't be replaced. Relationships will be lost.
I firmly believe the program is underfunded for what it's capable of providing.
With more funding, local agencies could strengthen a regional, statewide, or even national emergency response.
The uniqueness of terrorism is this: my department in my city doesn't fund itself on a day-to-day basis based on an international terrorist threat. The federal government will continue to have a responsibility to help local communities prepare for terrorism.
I have been most impressed with the folks who stepped up to the plate to lead the Metropolitan Medical Response Systems program. They weren't looking for a job. They had a job. They weren't looking for national recognition. They were looking for, how can I better protect my local jurisdiction?
I want you, as any member of my family, any firefighter, anybody who comes into this community, to be able to give them the best chance to survive as possible. If we don't lay these things out through an MMRS program, I don't know who else is going to do it.